Hey everyone, welcome to the Seeds of Success podcast, hosted by Dottie San Martin and myself, Orly Rivera. This show is your weekly dose of knowledge, insights, and actionable tips to transform centers into striking successes. Whether you're a seasoned industry professional or just stepping onto the lane, we've got you covered. How's it going, Dottie? And usually I'm like, hey, Dottie, but today we have a returning guest. I'm very excited. Not only do we have Dottie, which is always great, and she's always returning, we have Diana Burton. Diana, welcome to the show, as well as you, Dottie.
Thank you.
Hello.
Thank you. Well, it's good to be together again for another episode of Seeds of Success. And Diana, you have a topic that you brought to us that I want you to introduce. I think it's a great topic, and I think that our listeners are going to really enjoy this episode. So I'm going to turn it over to you.
Well, thank you so much, Dottie. It's great to be here again. And the topic that I had for today was talking about the psychology of play and why adults need fun too. And I want to just introduce that with a little tip, I guess. Research shows that play boosts creativity, it reduces stress, and it improves relationships. And I think that's a great way to kind of bring that aspect into your centers with getting different groups of adults in there to relieve some stress, boost their creativity, and improve their relationships.
Absolutely. And we know that there's so much stress involved in just everyday life, right?
Yes.
But that's really interesting that you brought these points up. Those are also things that as you are creating your messaging and your marketing programs, be mindful of that. Be mindful of those points because stress is involved in our daily lives, and to remind people that going bowling is a great way to relieve some of that stress and kind of let your hair down and have a good time, and especially even in a corporate setting, because we know
Definitely.
in today's day and age, we're working harder and accomplishing more with less people. So the stress is there. But when a center can say, hey, bring your group out here, bring your office out here, bring your company out here, and these are ways that we're going to help you reduce that stress and build the motivation back with your employees, right? So I think those are all great things that you should be aware of.
Yeah, and I used to see it. People would come into the center and, a lot of times, let's say a family of 4, 2 adults, 2 kids, and, we were on hourly bowling, say, is everyone bowling today? And they'd be like, no, just the kids. And I'd be like, are you sure? No, yeah, just them. And then, my line I would usually use is, it's hourly bowling by the hour, by the lane. So you just need to, and I know each center is different, but I would say you would just need to get shoes if you guys do want to bowl. And then, because sometimes not that maybe they have them, but maybe they're just like, no, we'll just pay for the kids to do it. And a lot of times the kids, oh, mom, come on, or dad, come on. And the same line usually, oh, I haven't bowled since I was a kid or something like that. Okay, I guess we'll do it. And then before you know it, they have a blast. They even come up and tell you sometimes, like, oh my gosh, we had so much fun. We're definitely going to come back here. It was fun that we all got to do it. And, sometimes I think people, I don't know, I'm not this way, but I know sometimes people are like, oh, I'm too old to do this, or I don't want to do this. We're big about with our kids. Like if they're playing, no matter what it is, I'm down on the ground doing it too. Or whether it's a wiffle ball outside. We just had a family wiffle ball game the other day outside. Like we're all about doing all that stuff. But I know sometimes parents, maybe they're just busy or they had a long day and maybe they're tired. But, once they start bowling, having fun, it takes a lot off you. Like, it's a stress reliever and they end up having a lot of fun. And like I said, they end up returning. They have more fun than they thought they would have had. And then they realize it's not just, it's not just for kids. So.
And that's a good point, Orly. Bowling is something that there are no bench setters. Mm-hmm. Everyone can bowl. Everyone can bowl. Whether you're a small child and you might require bumpers, or you're elderly and maybe you have to just go up to the line and roll the ball. It doesn't matter. If you have a physical disability, that's okay. There's a way for everybody to bowl, right? Yeah. So that's good that you can have an activity that reduces stress. It's inclusive. Anybody can do it. And on top of that, even if you're not really good at bowling, you can still have fun, right, Diana? Because there's ways that you can experience bowling that it's not based on your ability.
Exactly. I mean, especially with the Cubica AMF products, you don't have to be an excellent bowler to have fun. You have your mad games,
Yeah.
you have hyper bowling. You can do other things that kind of level the playing field, do some of the skill games, and it's just a great way to have that social connection with, your friends and your family and have a great time.
Yeah, and I think that's another thing you have to, me. Obviously, I'm a talker. You know that from all these podcasts and from everything else we do. But that's one thing with me. We've had staff before that. Would you like to bowl? Yes. Okay. Here's your shoes. Here's that. I'm like, and I would always get on them because I'm like, oh, just a heads up. Have you guys bowled here before? That was my number one question always. Also, if they say no, then right away I'm like, okay, well, just it's not. We don't just have regular bowling. There's games, and I would take them down there and show them. There's games. U-tunes where you could put your face, he takes a picture, it puts it up there. There's, what is it? The one where you want the lowest score, I can't think of the name of it. Yeah. And, and they don't realize all that. And they're like, oh, wow, this is so fun. So you have to make sure you're letting them know. We've talked about this before, Dottie. You have to let them know about the product because if they, a lot of times you will get somebody that says, oh, no, we just want something regular. And then, but once you start telling them kind of what's in there, they're like, oh, wow, that kind of sounds fun. We'll try that. So unless, you let them know about it or actually set it up for them, a lot of times they're just going to go with just traditional, plain, just leave it like that. But I think when you're showing them all those new things that are available, it's again going to bring them back, or they're going to be, oh, wow, this is fun. Or if there is another center in town that is just traditional, they're going to want to come back to yours because they know there's options to do different things. So I think it's always important too, to let them know what you offer and what they're available to get, once they pay for bowling.
Well, and the other thing is we need to bring to their attention. We need to show them reasons that they would want to bowl, right? Date night is one that I think is just amazing. Bowling is the perfect place to go to have that date night. And especially if it's a first date and you're not really sure, you're like, I'm not sure about this, but I think going to the bowling center is a safe place. There's a lot of things that you can talk about. You have that opportunity, but there's a lot of different ways that you can suggest ways that you would want to come out and play, be it with a date or, I know, Diana, you've referred to like the cozy culture. Talk to us a little bit about that and creating that opportunity.
Oh, yes. And that's always something I've tried to just kind of create that warm, cozy environment when people come in. And you talked about date night. That's, I think that was a fun thing. The center that I was at, we had a date night and it was always a big hit with not just, like the new couples, but the older couples, and they just coming in and having a special evening just for them. And we would have drink specials and food specials over at the snack bar. Yeah, it's I think you just want that warm, inviting space that people want to spend some time and come in.
And when it's well thought out like that, where you have a dedicated night, like a dedicated date night, or even a dedicated date package, like, that's well thought out. People are searching for things like that. And, they are looking for ways to have fun. They're looking for ways to connect. They're looking for ways to decompress. As you're talking about that and you're talking about, people coming out and sharing those moments together, I have to share with you, I recently went to a restaurant here that I had not frequented in a long time. And I happened to go on a night that they had karaoke. And there were a number of people not singing, but they were up dancing it was elderly couples and they were up dancing. I thought, well, isn't that cool? That would be neat to have an atmosphere in a bowling center where maybe you have an oldies night, right? And you play oldies music and you encourage them to get up on the concourse and dance with one another. Wouldn't that be a cool date night for elderly people? I mean,
yes, that would be so much fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Why not? They just want to have fun.
Why not?
They just
exactly.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly. And even, when you were talking too, I was reminded of another event that I had where I did a paint and sip night on a very slow Tuesday.
Yeah.
So it wasn't bowling centered, but I had bowling pins that people came in and painted, and they got 2 glasses of wine. and we did per person pricing to pay for, the supplies, although it wasn't a lot because we had plenty of bowling pins. The price we charged them was like what a lane for 2 hours would have cost. So, and I had
Nice.
16 people come in. So on a very slow Tuesday, I basically sold 16 lanes, but they weren't bowling or using the equipment. They were painting bowling pins,
Yeah.
and everybody had a great time.
Yes. And that's what they're wanting to do. They're just wanting to have fun. They're wanting to connect. They're wanting something to occupy their time, to decompress, to get rid of that stress. And there's so many ways that we can offer that to the customer. And I have to say, I like the way you thought that through. It's equivalent to the lanes being occupied, and this gave me revenue coming in, but in a different way. It's giving them that source of fun. And we know all of us, we just want to have a little fun every now and then, right?
Yep.
Give them the reason to do it.
Yes.
Absolutely. I think that we have definitely encouraged them to think of different ways that you can deliver fun to your customers, and make sure that you're sharing that. Make sure that you are putting that in your marketing material, especially when it comes to companies. They're looking for ways to get rid of that stress and motivate people. So put some of this into action, because I think that you will be very pleased with the results. Diana, thank you so much, as always, for being our guest today. Orly, goes without saying, I appreciate you being the co-host here on this show. And listeners, thank you for being a part of today's episode of Seeds of Success. With industry experience, we are really honored to share these ideas and strategies and trends with you to help your center thrive and grow. Together, we're planting seeds for a stronger, more successful future. Remember to share this episode. Remember to subscribe on any of your favorite podcast platforms, because the more seeds we sow, the greater the harvest. Until next time, let's continue to build success, one happy guest and one incredible experience at a time.